Good afternoon and welcome to today's Ad Week webinar, where we'll be talking about the state of CTV ad targeting. I'm Danielle Moore, Senior Manager here with Ad Week's Content Studio, and I'll be your host today. Today's sponsor is MNTN. And before we begin, I do just want to take a minute to make sure everyone knows what to expect from today's event and is familiar with the features of our platform here. Today's webinar should go somewhere in the 30-minute range, after which we will definitely have time for audience Q&A. So if at any point you have a question for our speaker today, just use that Q&A tool right beneath the video window on your screen, and we will get to as many of your questions as we can at the end of the presentation. Also, definitely not too late to invite your colleagues to join us today. About 15 minutes ago, you should have received a final reminder email from us, and in there you can find a link to the registration page you can share with your colleagues. Still plenty of time for them to join us live today, but if they can't, do know that today's webinar is being recorded and they can always catch the on-demand version. In fact, that recording is going to be available to all registrants, and we will email you a link to that later today when it's live around 3:30 Eastern or so. If you would like a PDF of today's slide deck, you can find that in the event resources area, also beneath the video window on your screen. I also wanted to call out that we do have a survey linked below today that Adweek and MNTN are partnering on to help us really better understand how you are thinking about CTV right now, your strategies, how you're approaching it. So feel free to click into that survey. We would really appreciate your opinions there. And as always, if you enjoyed today's webinar, definitely check out the full Adweek webinars calendar at adweek.com/webinars, also linked below. And in that event resources area, you can also find links to Adweek's resource library, where we have new guides, white papers, and other content added regularly. So if you're looking for other ways to stay up to date on this and related topics, be sure to check all of that out. All right, now I have to introduce you to today's speaker. I'm so happy to be joined by Lauren Reedy, Solutions Architect at MNTN. Lauren supports MNTN's enterprise and platform teams by delivering tailored performance solutions and cultivating new initiatives and partnerships for the company's advertisers. All right, we've got a lot of great content to dive into today. So without further ado, let me bring Lauren up on screen here to get us started. Welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Danielle. Thank you for the introduction. Nice to meet everyone. Thanks for all joining today. I'm so excited to chat with you all about all the exciting things happening in the world of CTV and ad targeting. So we'll get off my slide here and get right into it. So again, my name is Lauren Reedy. As Danielle mentioned, I'm a solutions architect here at MNTN. I'm lucky to be able to work really closely with all of our different brands that are leveraging MNTN Performance TV. But honestly, the best part of my job is bringing amazing new solutions that our product team has developed right to our customer base and actually to the CTV industry at large as well. So let's get into that. Let's kick it off with what we're talking about today. We're going to discuss all things ad targeting in the world of CTV. So in other words, how do you reach your most valuable and your most essential audience with your beautiful new TV commercial that you've built? And luckily, in this industry, there's a lot of different options for advertisers of really all shapes and sizes to reach their target consumer and achieve all of their different campaign goals, whatever they might be, from reach focus to driving actual conversions and revenue. And some of these targeting solutions are brand new to this channel, which is why we're excited to be chatting today. And others are, continue to be more the tried and true strategies that have been working for CTV advertisers over the past couple of years. But really, all in all, when we're utilizing the right combination of these different targeting tactics, brands are really able to hyper-focus on who is their intended audience. And that's been a concept that previously was really foreign to the world of TV. So we're continuing to make these big advancements in the TV space to really get after that very, very specific high intent audience. And the best news is that as we continue to see these advancements in technology for targeting, this comes with better outcomes for our brands. So we're really delivering not just impressions, but we're driving new lifelong customers for our advertisers. And obviously as marketers, we all know that at the end of the day, it's that bottom line outcome that really keeps the lights on and keeps our bosses happy. So yeah, let's talk about the two key points that we're hoping everyone can walk away with today to really hit those bottom line outcomes. First, we're going to discuss the arsenal of targeting tools that will help your CTV campaigns deliver actual sales and bring net new customers. And second, we'll talk about how improvements to CTV can actually boost every other channel and solution that you have in your overall marketing mix. Again, impacting what matters most, your bottom line. So starting with today's agenda, let's break down what we're covering. First and foremost, what are those strategies and tools that you need to find, to reach, and to convert your next lifelong customers all directly from your CTV campaigns? And then taking it a step further, how can those CTV efforts actually boost overall performance across all of your different digital channels and your brand's bottom line in general? And finally, as we continue to see that the CTV industry and this channel grows and blossoms, how are we all benefiting from the continual digital evolution and advancements that we're continuing to make in this space? So let's kick right into it and actually start by taking a big step back and think about really the extension of CTV in the digital world over the past couple of years, because it's not a longer standing channel like some of the other digital channels. It is a little bit more new in the space. And even if you're familiar with CTV, you might be unfamiliar with a number of actual advancements that it has actually seen. Connected TV is definitely not the same channel that it was when it first launched, thinking, pre-pandemic years. Now the capabilities that we have make it nearly unrecognizable to that version, where, before the pandemic, for example, it honestly more closely resembled more traditional TV advertising. There was definitely a bit of a lack of measurement, a lack of accuracy in targeting and tracking performance. But luckily, we all saw the rise of streaming consumption grow over the last 5 years. This has led to a sharp increase in actual content from all of the new TV networks that moved into the streaming space. And it kicked this channel into high gear. And with that came really big technology advancements for advertising on streaming. And this just continues to grow. So in recent years, I think the most important aspect is that TV became really fully targetable and measurable. So now brands can actually look at it as a fully digital performance machine, just like we've come to expect from other channels like paid search, paid social. And really that kind of all started with major leaps in cross-device attribution. So CTV is not usually a clickable channel, especially when it's ads that are served on your living room TV. And so the ability to really measure engagement after someone sees the TV ad and to whether or not they visit your website or convert on one of their personal devices, that was a really large leap in the technology needed for CTV to become a performance channel. Now we have more options. We have accuracy, both in tracking that cross-device performance, but also in targeting consumers at the household level based on, what they're doing on their personal devices, but targeting them on their living room TV. So while CTV has always, can always continue to be more of an awareness or an upper funnel play, now brands can also see it in driving actual net new customer acquisition, driving positive revenue returns all on its own, in addition to assisting more of the bottom funnel, more direct response channels as well, like paid search and social. And to bring it back to what we're talking about today, a lot of hyper advancements in the targeting space lately, again, making it more successful at driving outcomes for actual brands. And so what we really want to be thinking about is how is this unlocking opportunities for CTV to be a fully full funnel channel? How can we accomplish all of your performance targets from acquisition to reach to direct return on investment? So thinking about that transformative shift for TV, today, this channel, we're able to drive that same high impact, impressionable, really audio visual storytelling that we've always had on the TV medium. But we're able to get that message directly to the audience that matters most. So I think we can all relate to a really good TV ad, right? Whether you're actually paying attention to your TV or not, something might catch your eye or catch your ear even, and all of a sudden you're immediately paying attention, you're interested. at the very least, you might remember the jingle, you might remember a tagline, or you really might remember the actual product or the brand that they were pitching. And honestly, there isn't another ad medium quite like it that gives you that full share of voice on the screen, both the audio and the visual elements that allows a brand to really tell a story in either a 15 or 30-second window, where they really take over your entire living room, TV screen, and speakers. So we're taking that powerful element of TV, and at Mountain specifically, our goal is to bring that TV ad and find the right people to deliver that impactful message to. So what we actually do is work to match your ads with your next customers, and find them for you, those who are most likely to engage with your brand and take action. So those two key elements are what make CTV that performance channel that we talked about, that successful storytelling and the hyper targeting to the right customer. So we call this targeted storytelling. And obviously that's really great news for advertisers' bottom lines and their ad budget. What it means is that we don't need to worry about wasted impressions anymore. We no longer need to be serving TV ads to an uninterested audience or to viewers who are really just not likely to engage or convert with your brand. Instead, we only want to be delivering that message to the right consumers. And so there really is no excuse to not get in front of that right consumer with all of the recent technology developments that we're going to talk about today. Okay, so before we get into really the nitty gritty of all the different targeting options available to CTV advertisers, I wanted to first talk about Mountain and who we are in this space, just in case you aren't already familiar with our brand and what we offer. To start, we think of connected TV as performance TV. I think that's really the best way to encapsulate what we do. We at Mountain help brands use that invaluable power of TV that we talked about to really drive measurable results like visits, conversions, revenue, both online and offline traffic to your site, brand lift, incremental lift, and much, much more, but really in that same vein as all of your other digital channels. And we're actually, the world's first and only CTV platform that built itself to actually measure, drive, and optimize towards those direct response outcomes. So we're really first in that space, and that has been at the forefront of everything that we do and all of the new products that we build and features that we develop for our customers. So all in all, working to make CTV into a scalable performance channel right alongside, I'll say this again, digital marketing strategies like paid search and social, really that third pillar to drive results. And we continue to push the envelope with new enhancements in targeting technology like we're talking about today, among other areas of CTV. So let's get into that. Let's get into targeting. Obviously, we know advertisers have always used TV to build distinctive and memorable brands. Again, let's think of like Nike, let's think of Adidas, let's think of Apple. You think of the distinction of those brands and you often think about those TV commercials that were memorable. The images of someone dancing with their iPod, or the Just Do It tagline, right, as Michael Jordan is hitting a slam dunk. There's really nothing quite like a TV commercial in the world of impactful advertising and storytelling. However, the issue has always been that brands have had to serve their ads across all the households that were watching a TV program or that were in a specific region, and just hope that a fraction of the viewers were actually relevant, and even of those that were relevant, that they actually took action and did something about it. In this new world of performance TV, Mountain complements the TV efforts of storytelling, but enables advertisers to use connected TV to drive brand awareness and actually turn viewers into customers. So driving those lower funnel business outcomes. So how do our advertisers do this? Once you have a great ad, best advertisers on Mountain will then focus their time really perfecting their audience targeting strategy. So when it comes to audiences, our advertisers have leaned into some of the tried and true tactics we see here to reach their consumers, specifically targeting affinity or interest-based groups, demographics, radius targeting or geographic targeting for a particular region, like a zip code, and even building targeting based around first-party data like CRM lists. So to dig in further into each of these, we can start with affinity-based audiences. Basically, affinity targeting is allowing you to reach potential customers who probably have not already engaged with your brand. Maybe they don't even know, who you are or what you offer yet, but they do have a strong interest and affinity towards your products, your services, maybe specifically even your competitors, and therefore they would be a good match for you to show them your ad. So let's say, for example, you're a brand that sells a specific pet vacuum. I'm being advertised for this pet vacuum a ton right now. I have a dog that sheds like crazy in the summer, so I definitely need one of these. But so let's say this brand, can hyper target consumers who already buy dog or cat products. They already are purchasing from competitor brands or parallel brands. So we know that they have a dog or cat, and they can target consumers who are maybe already investing in pet grooming options. So we're taking it a step further, and we're seeing that they have an affinity for this type of product because they're already buying similar products. Or let's say, for example, you're a new brand to the luxury watch space. You can target consumers who buy other luxury jewelry or purchase from other luxury watch brands, so that you can directly compete against these brands. You can also target consumers, that you view as complementary or parallel to your brand. For example, if I buy a Tumi suitcase, I might also want to buy one of your watches. So again, if you already know who your target demographic might be, this is an excellent way to really unlock new opportunities to find customers and develop a brand loyalty with an audience who may not already be familiar with your brand. It's worth pointing out too that, even if you're not already using these tactics, it's likely that your competitors are. And conversely, it's a great way to get ahead if your competitors aren't already using this tactic. So all in all, it is a very important tool to have in your arsenal to make sure that you don't get left behind in your specific industry. Okay, hopping into location-based targeting. We can take affinity-based and interest-based targeting a little bit further, and also target audiences based on their geographic location. So this obviously allows brands to enhance local engagement or drive sales through localized messaging. And it can really mean a number of different things. But in general, what it's going to allow for is hyper-targeted audience strategy that's specific to a region. So for example, a brand can target a geographic area like a DMA or a region like the Southwest, and promote seasonal products or drive engagement from areas that they deem to be higher value. So maybe they see better sales in California versus the East Coast. And this can be, again, used on top of traditional audience targeting as well. So for example, let's take a shoe brand that sells everything from sandals to rain boots. They might want to target affinity-based audiences based on their competitors or people in market for shoes. But they might also want to promote different products in different regions. So for instance, showcasing sandals and really pushing that product line in the warmer climates while continuing to advertise for hiking shoes or rain boots in the regions that maybe don't have beach weather yet. So the brands can also get even more hyper-localized than this and target households around a really specific area. So this is great for local advertisers or bigger brands that have specific storefronts. You can target anything from a single zip code to a small radius around an actual business address. This is allowing advertisers really to shine a spotlight on just the relevant consumers in that area. Let's say, for example, a 5-mile radius around your storefront, while still only targeting consumers that fall within the core demographics of, let's say, age or household income or marital status, et cetera. And so a lot of options on the location-based targeting. I will say this has always been a staple of TV advertising. In fact, with traditional TV advertising, it was one of the only ways that you were able to target audiences. An advertiser might get to choose the time of day or the program or just the region that they serve their ads to. And that meant that really everyone in the LA area, for example, who was watching the same program at the same time would see the exact same ad regardless of who they were. But now we're actually able to take this technology and layer location-based targeting in conjunction with household-specific targeting around things like affinity, interest, and demographics. Again, really to take that targeted storytelling to the next level. And again, focusing on not wasting a single dollar on households that aren't relevant or meaningful to our brand. On our next targeting tactic in our arsenal is first-party targeting, like we can do through CRM lists. So at Mountain, we can target first-party segments in a couple of different ways, including targeting users who have been to your website based on pixel data, as well as CRM list targeting, which we're going to talk about here. So this lets you engage with prospects who are already familiar with your brand, likely have already taken some sort of interest on your site or through your brand already. And you've therefore collected a customer list of some kind or another. So we can then use that customer list to go target those specific consumers and show them a highly impactful and targeted TV ad based on who they are. So I love examples. Let's say you want to re-engage past purchasers who haven't returned to your site or haven't purchased again in over 6 months. We can show them a particular ad, or maybe you want to upsell customers who just bought your entry-level skincare product, but you want to actually upsell them your luxury line of hair care and fragrance. Or let's say you're a car brand and you have a list of prospective leads of people who signed up for your newsletter, but they still haven't purchased that new truck yet. So we want to try to drive them further down the funnel. At Mountain, the way that this works is you would simply upload any of your customer lists of either email addresses or IP addresses straight into our platform, and our tech simply matches them to your TV audience. That allows you, again, to show that specific messaging based on that unique consumer group. What's nice is that this is unlocking campaign types that really haven't been seen before on TV. So think loyalty audiences, think lapsed purchasers, upsell opportunities like we talked about. And as I mentioned, this kind of first-party audience targeting can also be accomplished through site visitor data, targeting users who came to your site but didn't take action. And honestly, we can identify those households based on their different behaviors on your site. So how long since they last visited, what pages did they browse, how engaged were they with your brand, et cetera. Again, the point here is really skip the initial introductions that are needed for net new audiences and instead get straight to the return business of reminding those customers who you are, what you offer, and why they should convert. And again, all of this can be layered with some of the other tactics that we've talked about so far. Okay, so we've talked about the tried and true audience targeting strategies. What we're really excited to talk about today is a new strategy that's going to catapult TV, I think, CTV into an even more impactful performance channel. So we're talking about Mountain Matched. That is a new breakthrough here at Mountain. And honestly, we think about some of the more traditional methods of audience targeting that we've discussed, such as age or gender demographics. Those can be extremely common in wasting impressions on consumers who are just unlikely to buy your product or service. We all know the age-old saying in advertising, half of my ad dollars are wasted, but the problem is I just don't know which half. So for an expensive channel like TV, we know that often can deter brands from even testing in this medium. And this is especially true for smaller or emerging brands that have to be really conscious of every dollar they spend on creative and targeting and measurement, et cetera. So at Mountain, what we're looking to do is really help solve this problem and break down this barrier of entry for advertisers across the board and make CTV more accessible for brands of all shapes and sizes. Specifically for targeting, Mountain Match is our latest technology that cuts out that waste that we've honestly all become accustomed to with traditional tactics. So what is it? Mountain Matched actually matches brands, right there in the name, with the most valuable consumers on CTV. It's a proprietary system that uses AI technology to score and categorize consumers in over 99% of US households, really based on their shopping behaviors and their recent life events and most relevant interests. It then will actually build a predictive model of what they're most likely to buy next. So our system is bringing the brands to the consumers who are most likely to engage and are ready to convert. And in building this high-performing AI-generated audience tactic, we're seeing that on average, brands are driving 6 times more site traffic, twice the return on investment, and half the cost per acquisition compared to some of the more traditional TV targeting tactics. And again, here at Mountain, we're really looking to keep pushing CTV to be an exceptional performance channel for all brands, which is exactly why we created this technology. It goes beyond traditional TV targeting of consumers who might be relevant, and instead is matching you directly with consumers who will love your brand and are honestly ready to purchase today. So let's talk a little bit more about, how does this actually work? I'm sure you're asking yourself, that sounds great, but give me the actual nitty gritty. So it's pretty simple. To start, Mountain's generative AI analyzes your website and your mobile app to determine what you sell and what services you provide. It's then going to generate a list of recommended audience keywords based on your business and your customer profile. These keywords are really focused on who your customers are and what they're looking to purchase from your brand. You can also add or remove any of these keywords, just like you would do with paid search or social. And then from there, our audience AI uses those generative keywords to find consumers in over 99% of available US households who are most likely to act when they see your ad. Our technology is actually scoring those consumers for their purchase intent. And it's based on things like shopping behavior, meaningful life events, and relevant interests that they've expressed. So Mountain Match actually uses AI models and machine learning to build your audience keywords and then get your brand in front of that highest value potential customer. So let's talk about an example of that just so that it can really land. Let's take a snowboard company. I know it's the height of summer, but it's really hot these days. So let's think about colder weather. So we have our snowboard brand. Our Mountain Match generative AI would build a customer profile that is likely focused on keywords like outdoor activities, winter sports, adventurous lifestyle, etc. And then it would match up that core customer demographic with a targetable audience of consumers who have maybe recently purchased a mountain season pass, or they're actively looking into booking a ski vacation, or they continually express interest in similar activities like surfing or skiing. Again, this is all with the intent to find customers who are most likely to be interested in this snowboard brand right now at this time. So once Mountain Match builds you this targetable audience, it actually then breaks it down into 3 intent categories for you. So we have our high intent audiences. Those are going to be consumers who are most likely to visit your site and convert today. And then we also have our medium intent audiences. These are consumers who are still likely to engage with your brand and likely to convert. Might not be today, but in the near future, possibly. And then we have our medium reach audiences. And this expands your targeting to still really relevant consumers who you can then reach to increase your brand awareness and your longer term growth potential. And you can use these categories to directly plan your ad budget to maximize campaign performance. So you'll be able to see the available reach potential and budget recommendations for each of these intent categories. And also will optimize your ad budget to automatically apply to the highest intent audiences first to make sure you're maximizing your ad dollars and putting them where they'll be most effective. And then once your campaign is live, you'll get best-in-class performance. Like I mentioned earlier, on average, customers are seeing 6 times more site traffic, twice the revenue, half the CPA than traditional TV targeting. And finally, we still want that control. We still want that transparency. So you'll be able to see this performance data in real time right in the Mountain platform. You can see visits, revenue, and conversions reported down to that actual keyword level, as well as campaign, creative, network, geo, just to name a few. And then you can actually take these learnings around what keywords are driving the best results, or maybe what keywords aren't performing quite as well, to actually inform campaign optimizations, both in Mountain and through some of your other channels that are using some of the same keyword targeting tactics. So for example, if we see that the surfing related keywords aren't performing, we can consider removing them from our Mountain Matched campaign and reevaluating that persona in general within our other channels as well. Okay. So we've kind of spent a lot of this time talking about CTV, of course, and all of the exciting advancements we've seen on that front, but we definitely can't think of this channel in a silo. Despite all of its strengths that I've mentioned ad nauseum and the quick rise to prominence in recent years, obviously there are a very impactful other ad channels that need to remain an important part of your overall marketing mix. So in no way are we saying move all of your budget from search or social right into CTV. And CTV, just like any other channel, is not always effective on its own. Omni-channel marketing tactics and remarketing, retargeting campaigns are really meant to find audiences that maybe watched a TV ad and then didn't take action. So, maybe a consumer was interested in what they saw and planned to look into it further, but either could procrastinate it or forgot. I think we can all relate to seeing a commercial and thinking, oh, that looks interesting, but then your TV show resumes or your dog starts barking, and you really just go back about your day. So a good omni-channel strategy brings you back to the brand through another tactic or medium. So maybe, paid search or paid social after you've seen the TV ad. So as marketers, we really want to be looking at our overall strategy and how channels work together to drive results. We all know that each channel has its strengths and its weaknesses on their own. For instance, you think about paid search, you're really only capturing prospects who are actively searching for something in that moment. And then if you think about paid social, those ads are really appearing in a scroll-heavy environment with a ton of competition for that consumer's attention and action. So relying solely on either of those channels, for example, can really limit the number of consumers you can drive and may reach a point of diminishing return really quickly. And oftentimes this is why we see consumers turn to Mountain, when they've reached that point of diminishing return on their channels like paid search and social. We see time and time again that when CTV is brought into the marketing mix for the first time, it'll bring that hyper-focused audience targeting and that, really impactful storytelling, non-skippable audiovisual medium right into the consumer's living room. And this addition to your brand's overall message then creates a halo effect that actually improves performance across the board, and even like specifically in paid search and paid social channels. And if we think about the impact of a TV ad, it truly is a cross-device experience. You can see a commercial and want to take action immediately by searching for that brand on your phone or going directly to that website on your computer. Or, you might be interested in it, but not take action right away. And then the next day, you're scrolling Instagram and you see an ad for that same brand. And instead of scrolling past like you normally would, you associate it with that memorable TV commercial that you saw yesterday. And then it drives you to actually click on that Instagram ad. So it's easy to understand why, advertisers who add CTV into their mix start to see that stronger site traffic. They see increased conversions as CTV generates more attention and more opportunities to convert through other channels. And we actually measured this across our new Mountain advertisers. So customers who came to Mountain and launched CTV for the first time. On average, we see that after just 30 days, Mountain's halo effect produces 2% stronger conversion rate for paid search. And then after 90 days, the halo effect actually increases the conversion rates by 22% for paid search. And that continues to grow the longer that it's in market. So honestly, the most savvy performance marketers are turning to CTV as really an ideal performance channel that they can add right along their existing strategies to drive both direct performance and to really lift their overall brand's impact. Again, the goal here really being smart with where your ad dollars go and making sure that, with CTV, for example, we're pulling double duty in the halo impact and the direct response. Okay, so with that, let's review some of the key takeaways from our conversation today. We've covered a lot around targeting and CTV, and I want to make sure these are the points that really stick with us all. So to start, we want to start thinking about platforms like Mountain Performance TV, again, as that true performance channel with the ability to deliver unparalleled granular targeting that was really considered science fiction at one point for TV. And I think it's important to focus in on this point. No longer is that hyper-targeted audience strategy reserved for some of your direct response campaigns and channels like search and social, but now advertisers can really mirror those same techniques using the exceptionally powerful ad medium of TV. And then the second thing we want to keep in mind is that most savvy advertisers, which I know we all are, in the CTV space, we're all using the latest targeting tools to minimize any wasted ad spend. So we want to drive actual measurable conversions. We want to get the ad to the right audience, and we don't want to be wasting any viewable impressions. There's really no longer any excuse to reach the wrong consumer, the wrong household who isn't relevant or isn't interested in your brand. And those days of the spray and pray technique on television are long gone. Next up, the capacity for purposeful targeting has been pushed into hyperdrive with the recent addition of AI in the space. And at Mountain, as we talked about with tools like Mountain Match, this makes finding audiences easier than ever by introducing those AI-generated keyword capabilities, similar to what you see on other channels. And I think the most important thing to really highlight under the Mountain Matched umbrella is that word matched, right? So we're taking targeting a step further by matching your consumers, your brand to consumers who will actually love your product and are most likely to take action. So what this is doing is really taking the guesswork out of targeting and letting AI and machine learning find your next lifelong consumer for you. But with anything here at Mountain, this tool still comes with control and transparency, allowing you to both choose your keywords, remove any keywords, and evaluate their true performance at a granular level. And finally, our last takeaway is that these new and enhanced targeting tactics for connected TV can not only result in the direct sales and conversions that we're excited about, but can also create more of that halo effect, which will boost performance across all of your other channels in your marketing mix, including those that might be stale, stagnant, or even underperforming. So really to sum up, I'd say, the main takeaway here is that, finding and converting the right customer, while it can be really difficult for any brand, big or small, traditional targeting is just not going to cut it anymore. And on top of that, these days advertisers are faced with higher and higher expectations to achieve that constant durable growth. And it just leaves, little to no room for wasted ad dollars. So thankfully, with the new enhancements that are helping CTV campaigns to deliver actual consumers and not just impressions, it's impacting how advertisers are able to use every solution in their marketing mix and improve their performance through CTV. So that takes us to the end of our run through today. I do hope that this was really helpful in reviewing all of the exciting new targeting capabilities for CTV, and that it left you with more efficient and effective ways to stretch your ad budget and deliver consumers. So Danielle, I know we saved some time for Q&A, so I'll pass it over to you to see if we had any questions from our audience.
We absolutely do. Thank you so much for those insights, Lauren. Lots to unpack there. Yes, as you mentioned, we've got time for a couple questions. We'll get to as many as we can over the next 5 to 10 minutes or so. Audience members, please know that if we don't get to your question today, we always make sure they'll get forwarded over to Lauren so she has the opportunity to possibly reply offline. Just a couple of quick reminders here from Adweek. Today's webinar has been recorded and will be available on demand later this afternoon. We'll email everyone a link to that recording, so keep an eye out for it. And if you'd like a copy of today's slides, you can find those in the event resources area right beneath the video window on your screen. You can also find that survey there. So please feel free to take that and just give us your thoughts on how you're handling CTV in your org. Really, that will give us the opportunity to better serve you with future CTV content, help you navigate whatever you're dealing with there. So feel free to check that out. All right, let's jump into some of these questions here. So Lauren, you definitely covered this during your presentation, but I think it's helpful to have like a sum up for the audience here. AI is naturally a scary word for some marketers today. Definitely, we're all aware that that anxiety exists. How does Mountain see AI tools like Mountain Match that you mentioned benefiting, not hurting marketing? And what does the future look like in that realm? Tell us more.
Yeah, I think that is a very valid question, and honestly, probably the most common one when it comes to AI. We all are excited about what AI can bring, but maybe a little hesitant, around some of the drawbacks that might come with it. Maybe, we've seen some AI tools that are really, really high quality, and we've seen some that are perhaps dubious at best. I love the internet memes of the AI generated Google search results that really don't make any sense at all. But what I think, is really clear is that we can't just rely on AI to understand human complexities on its own, right? There still does need to be some control from our end. But that doesn't mean that AI has to be, this big scary word. In fact, how we want to use it is to take the drudgery out of the day-to-day and make our lives easier so that we can be producing better results while freeing up time to do more important things. So in advertising, that might mean that we no longer need to be manually adjusting some of the optimization levers that, we previously were used to. But we still have the control to do so if needed, if we do see that we need to override the system or something like that. One of my colleagues had a really good analogy. I think it's like the leap from humans creating fire for the first time and what that meant for cooking food, and then jumping to something like a stove in your kitchen. So we still are using fire to make food better, faster, and easier. But we're still the ones controlling that fire. We're still doing the cooking. We're still making sure that we're not burning our houses down. And so I think that's a really good way to think about how AI doesn't need to be scary, but can be more complementary to our lifestyle. And especially, again, in advertising, there's a lot of impactful AI tools that are going to drive better performance, analyzing patterns, optimizing your campaigns for you. Obviously, solutions like Mountain Match, like we talked about today, that are letting marketers really tap into advanced machine learning to hone in on who are your most relevant customers and how do I get in front of them for the cheapest rate. And really, at the end of the day, again, what we want it to do in the advertising space is free up more valuable time for all of us marketers to be analyzing, macro performance trends and make larger, more impactful strategy decisions. So do I need to think bigger in terms of my audience targeting, in terms of my creative strategy, instead of spending all my time doing manual optimizations around, device or time of day or day of week? So I think that's really the big benefit. And at Mountain, we feel like we're at the forefront with this trend for CTV advertising. We're very proud to say that no other platform offers this type of AI technology for targeting on performance TV. I've mentioned, the really significant bottom line performance results that it's already generated. And looking ahead to the future, we're also identifying additional areas where AI can be really useful to our advertisers in the CTV space. So I think, something like video creative, that's an area where there is, it takes a lot of effort to produce a really good video creative and time and money. And so that's, that is an area that has a lot of potential for AI to benefit as well.
Yeah, let's talk about that some more, because we do have a question on that. Someone asks, we'd focus more on CTV, but we're struggling to keep up with ad creative demands without breaking the bank. Common problem, I think, not just for CTV, but for other, mediums as well. Any tips for that? Where is the solution? Is AI going to be part of that solution? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the biggest roadblocks for brands to get into the TV space. A good TV ad, again, can be expensive. It can be time consuming. And really, if we're thinking about overall strategy of creative, you want to have a lot of different ads to test and iterations to see what is resonating best with your audience. Obviously, that means that, you need to be producing a lot of video. So here at Mountain, that was one of the first big roadblocks that we wanted to focus on breaking down for all of our brands, because we believe that every advertiser should be able to be on CTV because of the performance gains that they can get. So we wanted to solve that creative challenge that a lot of brands see, not just in creating their first ad and getting them on TV for the first time, but additional ads to really make sure that, they don't have stale creative and that they're able to continue to optimize against the audiences that we're targeting. So at Mountain, for example, we partner with QuickFrame, which is our video production arm. And we also have what we call creative as a subscription services. Those are two elements of our business that help our brands really produce better creative and more quickly. So QuickFrame, for example, they're able to produce high impact, really high quality, and most importantly, affordable videos at scale. And they do this not just for CTV, but for social and beyond, really any video needs that you might have. And then we take that a step further with our creative as a subscription model, where basically you get that custom made high performing creative in return for spending money on CTV media that you would have already invested anyways. So you have X amount of CTV budget going towards your mountain campaigns in the coming months. This can unlock creative that is produced by QuickFrame for you to then test, against your CTV campaigns that you're running. So again, really trying to make the production and the cost of creative a lot easier for brands until we get to that point where AI, is taking this into high gear. I also do think it's worth kind of thinking just about creative strategy alongside the targeting strategy that we've gone through today. I'd be remiss if I don't talk about creative in line with targeting. But really, it's imperative to be thinking really strategically and with a performance mindset when you're building specific creatives and how you're deciding to target them against the different audience groups. So like we've talked about today, you have a hyper-focused targeting strategy around, consumers in a certain region of the US who have an affinity for a certain brand, or maybe you're using Mountain Match to say people who are most likely to be interested in my snowboard brand. You really want to make sure that you're marrying that with a creative strategy that is speaking to that particular audience. So knowing that audience well, understanding what elements of that audience are performing best, and then taking those learnings to educate your creative strategy as well.
Thank you for walking us through all of that. So we talked a little bit about AI. Let's talk about another topic that gives marketers anxiety, which is ad fraud. Someone's asking, how can I know the CTV inventory I'm buying is safe from ad fraud? How do I ensure that? Any tips there?
Yeah, I think the word fraud is always going to give us anxiety. There's no way around it. And this does, continue to be a really persistent topic in the CTV industry. We've been talking about it for years and years, but it remains important, right? Every single dollar that a marketer has, we want to make sure that it's going towards an actual valuable impression. So any money wasted on fraud is going to be obviously, rightfully, something we're concerned about. And unfortunately, as CTV has risen in popularity, I think the rise of ad fraud potential has risen as well. And there's just a lot of bad actors taking advantage of it. And really not every CTV platform offers the same level of protection against that kind of fraudulent inventory. So I can speak, on behalf of Mountain, what we do to combat CTV ad fraud. There's basically three key elements. First is that we only target premium inventory through our private marketplace and direct deals. Second is that we have transparent reporting, and third is our verified visits. So to kind of go into each in more specifics. On the premium inventory side, we actually advertise only on about 150 different premium networks that we have direct relationships with, which means that your ad dollars are only spent on what we know to be legitimate inventory. And so these direct publisher relationships that Mountain has eliminates a lot of the vulnerabilities in that media buying process that some of the more common ad or fraud tactics will exploit. And so we're going straight to the source and really, cutting out the opportunity for vulnerabilities with the middleman. We also, it's pretty common that ad fraud occurs at the impression level to take advantage of CPM-based pricing models to really just increase the overall impression count. So our more transparent reporting will remove those blind spots and give you that data that you need to identify any suspicious activity quickly. And then, of course, we're optimizing based on actual performance outcomes and not on impressions. And that is truly one of the key reasons that we're pretty fervent to remove any ad fraud before it even happens, is that it goes against our best interests in terms of driving better performance for our customers. And so I think the CTV platforms that are more focused on just driving reach, they can see fraudulent impressions increase that reach. And so that's where, the danger lies. So again, we're delivering results based on actual outcomes as opposed to actual just impressions. And then I mentioned verified visits. We have that built-in fraud protection in the platform itself with our proprietary attribution model for verified visits, which is factoring in viewability and, again, measuring true outcomes from viewers who actually saw your ad and were actually influenced.
Got it. Thank you for walking us through all of that. Always appreciate understanding what those measures are to combat ad fraud. I'm sure that helps to allay some of the anxiety for folks listening who might be worried about that. So we have a question here. Got time for one more questions. Let's see if we can sneak this in. What techniques are being used to drive site traffic from a CTV source where consumers cannot just click on a link? Help us understand that better.
Yeah, that's a great question. So this kind of goes back to both targeting and creative strategy, right? So unlike most ads, you can't click on a TV ad, or at least the ones that we're serving, you can't click on it. So we really need to make sure that our advertisers are doing the best job possible to get their brand message across, to share exactly who they are, what product they're promoting, and how does that consumer go find that product. So, different from like a YouTube ad even, which is, a video ad that you can click on and that actually has like the name of the brand at the bottom of the page. When it's on your TV, it's essential that your TV commercial says, this is my brand, this is my website, and then actually has a call to action. So we have a handful of creative best practices that really work to drive users to go engage. And so that might, that includes things like always having a voiceover so that you're getting the consumer's attention, even if they're not looking at the TV, having a persistent brand logo throughout so they know exactly who you are, even if they only glance up for 1 second. And then having a really strong call to action and end card at the end of the commercial to say, visit, www.nike.com, or here's a promo code, something like that to really drive them to take action, because again, they're not clicking on the ad themselves. So it's especially imperative to have those creative elements. And as we said before, really that targeting strategy to make sure that we're just hitting those consumers that are going to actually want to take action. And so the marrying of both the creative and audience strategy to make sure that we're actually driving that cross-device engagement is essential. And on the actual measurement side, not sure if this is part of the question, but just, so that we cover it. Our cross-device verified visit technology is looking to measure engagement from consumers who saw your TV ad and then came to visit the website on one of their personal devices within a window that you get to define. So we identify all the devices within a household, and that allows us to know after they saw your TV ad in full, completed 15 or 30 seconds, did they come to your website from one of those personal devices within their home? And that's how we're actually able to measure performance for not just visits, but then, subsequent conversions and revenue as well.
Got it. Thank you so much for walking us through that example. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for questions today. I'd like to thank our speaker, Lauren, as well as our sponsor, Mountain. Some final reminders from Adweek. Make sure you download those slides from the event resources area and check out the other resources there. Check your email for a link to the on-demand recording, which will be available later today. And if you enjoyed today's webinar, be sure to check out the Adweek webinars calendar to learn more about our upcoming events at adweek.com/webinars. Again, huge thank you to Lauren for taking the time to join us today and for letting us pick your brain during this Q&A session. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. And as always, we look forward to seeing everyone at an upcoming Adweek webinar. Thank you all.
Thanks, Danielle.